Welcome, survivors! This is Eerie Knight of the Pseudo Posse, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you all how to build a multi-tiered castle complex in Sons of the Forest, which will require the use of several more advanced building techniques, which I'll highlight as we use them. Instead of opting for the overdone European-style medieval castle, I decided to base my design on the Himeji castle, which is a Japanese castle originally built in the 14th century, with later expansions in the 16th and 17th centuries. I think this castle looked ridiculously cool and thought it would be a challenge to build something like this here. So enough of the history lesson, let's dive right in. We are going to start with the foundation of our castle complex, which will simply be a square comprised of 11 vertical logs on each side. Once we have placed the logs around the entire perimeter, we go around and cut the logs on higher elevations to match the level of the logs on a slightly lower elevation. The shortest I needed to cut the logs in this location was half a log length. The next step is to place horizontal logs on top of these freshly cut vertical logs all the way around the perimeter. We're done with the perimeter momentarily, and now we need to fill in the center with a bunch of support struts. I'm going to make these struts the same height as the perimeter. To make a strut, we will place a row of vertical logs and place horizontal logs on top. Then we will place half logs in the corners such that we can remove the central vertical logs to be used elsewhere as vertical logs or as corner braces. This can save on the amount of logs we use, and as we need a fuck ton of logs for this castle, I'll save anywhere I can. Unfortunately, we cannot place one corner log on either end and remove everything in the middle. The longest you can make a strut is 5 vertical logs, including the ends that have the bracing, meaning there are 3 vertical logs in between the ends that can be removed. We will repeat this process for the entire center of our foundation. Now back to the perimeter. Ultimately, we are going to build the bottom tier roof upon the wall of the foundation, so we want our wall to be a bit higher. So we are going to place vertical half logs all the way around, so the shortest length of our foundation wall will be a full log's length, and the highest point at 1.5 logs. Once all the vertical logs are in place, we will connect the tops with horizontal logs all around the perimeter. As we did before, we will fill in the center with struts to match the new level of our wall. These will be identical to the ground level struts, so nothing really new here. Just rinse and repeat. One trick to speed up the process of building is, instead of bringing 2 half logs to place the vertical parts of the struts, bring 2 full logs and temporarily place a log somewhere nearby. Take the other log and place it where you want it. Cut it in half and catch the falling log and place that in the next position. Finally, take the temporarily placed log and repeat. Place where you want it, cut it in half, and catch the falling log and place the last one. This helped me build faster once I figured this out, so hopefully I can save some pain for all of you. With that finished, it is time to make the lower tier roof that will overhang over the walls. This part is a bit tedious as we need to do a bit of setup for each individual roof overhang. First, we will need to position a vertical log on top of the struts such that they are 1 log length away from the perimeter wall. Our next step is to position a sloped log against the perimeter wall and take another log and aim at the bottom until we see the curved arrow. This will lift up the sloped log and place the other log vertical. Next, we will need to place half logs along the perimeter wall, which will be used to support the roof. You can use my previous trick carrying 2 full logs to place 4 half logs at a time to speed things up. Next, we will place 2 full logs forming the sloped roof. The first from the full vertical to half vertical log, and the second one connected to the first. Finally, we place the corner brace underneath the overhang and remove the unnecessary logs. We will repeat this process all the way down our first side of the perimeter. Now the next side and the remaining sides are a bit trickier because the height of the perimeter wall is greater than a single log. Doing what we did before causes the horizontal log to be sloped, which is no bueno. To do this without building a complicated support structure, we'll employ our first advanced building technique by simply placing a vertical, horizontal, and sloped log, then an additional sloped log against the bottom of the half log. Place a corner brace underneath the sloped log, raising it up to create the horizontal support of the overhang. Then simply add the sloped log on top to complete the roof support. Finally, we will cap off the roofing supports with horizontal logs all the way around. Our castle complex will be comprised of 3 parts: the main keep, and the two side structures that are all connected. We will start with framing out the main keep. We will place vertical logs around the perimeter of the main keep and place a bunch of floorboards, which will become the first tier of the castle. With that complete, it is time to create some gables on our lower tiered roof. This will employ another advanced building technique, which will become apparent as we build. First, we will place a half log and 2 quarter logs on both sides. The reason for this will become important in a bit. Next, we'll grab 2 full logs and connect them. We grab 2 additional logs, one to place on the same end as the quarter log, which will require cutting a quarter off the top and placing a full log in the center and connecting the centers with a horizontal full log. Finally, we'll place another vertical log on the other side and chop off a quarter. Time to grab an additional 2 logs and place them along the logs we just positioned. These sloped logs will match the slope of the first sloped logs that we placed, such that we can put wood planks in between them later. Next, we'll connect both ends of the gable with 2 more full logs. Now we need to create 2 3/4 length logs, and we're going to place them on top of the quarter logs we placed at the start. This will essentially create a full log length, but in 2 parts, the quarter part and the 3/4 part we just placed. The reason for that is we could not have connected the horizontal log on either end to a full whole log. It needs to connect with a vertical log at the same level, which in this case was the quarter log. This is the second advanced building technique. The same reasoning applies to the center of the gable. We used half a log to match the height of the full log so we could place a horizontal log connecting them. And to get our full log on top, we'll position a half log, which will match the height of the 3/4 log we just placed. Since you cannot connect a horizontal or sloped log in the middle of a whole log, you need to break the whole log into sections where you want another log to connect. This technique allows you to make more complicated geometries. The rest of the gable is trivial, just filling in the planks and connecting the tops of the gable along the perimeter wall with horizontal logs. We will create 2 more gables like this on the adjacent wall in the same manner. Next, I want to highlight a third advanced building technique by putting 2 sloped logs in the corner. Normally you can't place 2 logs like this, but there's one way to do it. We need to place a log in the spot where the 2 sloped logs will meet that is the same height as the other ends where the sloped logs will be connected. In this case, that is half a log height. Now we place 2 logs connected to the half log, and if done right, should be horizontal. Lastly, all we need to do is to chop the half log into a quarter, and the 2 horizontal logs will drop down and become slope. Moving on. Next, I'm going to show you all how to create the roofing for the section above the gables we just made. This one is a bit more complicated, but will make use of the advanced technique I previously showed to create complex geometries by splitting a whole log in sections at the points you want other logs to connect. We will employ this technique again by first placing 5 vertical logs in total, 2 quarter, the middle log half length, and the 2 quarter logs as well on the other end. Oops, actually we need an additional quarter log on either end. Next, we will place the same size logs on the opposing sides except at the ends, where we will place nothing. Logs will now be laid down to connect the central vertical logs, forming a gable type structure. We are going to place 3/4 length logs on either side of the gable to connect our quarter logs, which, if you recall, is the advanced building technique number 2. In the middle, all we want is a half length log. Adjacent to the gable, we are going to plop down a 3/4 length log on top of our quarter, again in service of the second advanced technique, yada 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 yada. We proceed with placing a horizontal log along the 2 quarter length logs and start connecting everything down the line. I swear we're getting close to finishing this part. Sometimes order is important. Here I am trying to connect a horizontal log between 2 1/4 vertical logs, but the arrow isn't appearing. We will need to remove the vertical 3/4 log so we can place the horizontal log first, then return the 3/4 log to its rightful position. After proceeding to fill in some of the easy logs, we encounter another example of where order matters. I want to place this sloped log, but all I am getting is this red arrow. There are already 3 logs attached to the point I want the sloped log to land, so I'll need to reconfigure this section. Removing the bottom sloped log allows me to place the sloped log I desire, and for some reason I can replace the log I just removed, thus having 4 logs connect to that quarter log. Interesting interaction, but whatever, just be mindful of this as you are building. building. The rest is pretty straightforward. We will fill in all the gaps and can make use of the recent update to fill in the triangular shaped hole made by a sloped log against a beam, and voila! It's done. I'm going to create a simpler roof structure at the same level but on the adjacent side. Very straightforward, except we are going to need to employ advanced building technique number 3 this time. We want 2 sloped logs to connect at a single point, so we place what will be our sloped logs and connect them to the point we want to cut. Then cut and watch the logs fall in place. Finally, we will fill in all the gaps to finish this section. The next part is relatively simple, and I don't know about all of you, but I'm ready for a break. We're going to construct the roof for the building behind the main keep. It is very straightforward, some half logs with sloped beams that will ultimately form the roof supports. Then we will fill in all the gaps and enjoy our rest from complexity. For this upper roof, it will be similarly constructed but with a gentler slope. We'll use half logs as the vertical supports and connect full logs in between. To protect ourselves against some unwanted trips down to the ground, we will place some floorboards to make walking around easier. Then I'll wrap up the supports for this roof and move on to the next section. Finally, we have reached the top and I want to create another roof overhang. So we need to create some structural support and position the corner bracing needed to support the overhang. Then we can remove the temporary structural support. After we do that on the other side, I'm going to create a simple pitched roof to cap our castle by using logs in the center at the highest point of the roof and using shorter logs as we reach the edge of the overhang. Lastly, I will fill in all the wood planks to create the top roof of the castle. Doesn't it look glorious? Also unfinished, let us wrap things up. Time to create the entrance to our castle. On the side, we will cut into some wood planks a hole in which to place a rope that extends to the bottom. With that done, we need to start filling in all the missing floors and walls. Right now, we have a lot of supports and many gaps. Also, we want to hide the bottom struts at the foundation level with some defensive wall. Now, let's go ahead and fix all that. This is a lengthy process, so cue montage. And with all that done, may I present the completed castle. It has multiple tiers, 5 to be exact. We enter through this defensive wall gate and climb up the rope. Inside we have lots of space, and let me know if you guys want me to furnish the inside, and I'll possibly make a video on that if there's enough interest. We make our way up the stairs and can head up the rope to the next level. On these mid-tiers, we have corridors where we can walk through and peer out onto the field. As we climb up further, the space gets smaller, but the view gets grander. And at the top is the best view. So worth all the effort. I hope you all enjoyed the video and learned some things along the way. I'll be making more creative builds in Sons of the Forest, so stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you had fun here and want to see more. See you all next time.